headlines are about the Straits of Hormuz, the back and forth with UAE and Saudi Arabia and all that. But there is the cornerstone of the Middle East is Egypt.
Yes.
And it is so stable, comparatively speaking.
Absolutely, yeah.
And there's, hundreds of millions of people, stable, amazing thing. And they have such a leadership role in the Middle East.
Yes.
And some of these things that we're going to get into today are really needing to be explained.
Yes.
So we're looking you today not only as the author of the book Unholy Alliance that we're going to be breaking down, the subtitle, How Progressivism Brought About an Islamist Invasion.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very bold statement.
Yeah.
We want you to break it down.
Absolutely.
And we want you to, but before we were on camera together, Dr. Michael, you were explaining to us some deep nuance between an Islamist and a Muslim.
Yep.
And there are hundreds of millions of Muslims around the world.
Right.
But they are not all Islamists.
No. That's exactly
And we need to differentiate
Yes.
that, help our audience understand that first and foremost, because we're going to be talking about negatively about Islamist kind of individuals.
Right.
And we're not talking about every Muslim in the world.
No.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. Just before we leave the topic of Egypt, I had the joy and the privilege of meeting twice with President Sisi. He's probably, without a doubt, one of the wisest leaders, in my judgment, in the world. One of the wisest. But he certainly is one of the wisest, is the wisest leader in the Arab world. And I got to see his heart and talk to him on a personal basis. As a matter of fact, the last time we met, I said to him, because I was in New York and I was invited to come, and I said, when they asked me if I'll be in New York, I said, of course I'm going to be in New York. I'm going to be meet him. I see him again. And I said, Mr. President, today is my 71st birthday, many years ago. And you are my birthday present.
Yeah.
For the 2 hours, he kept saying, I can't believe you left your family and came. I said, well, you're my present. That's how much I value and esteem the man. He's such a great leader and a wise leader. And if it wasn't for him, and he's a devout Muslim, so we'll get into the topic because he's a devout Muslim. And yet, if it wasn't for him and his leadership, Egypt would have been destroyed by now. Because the Muslim Brotherhood, supported by Obama and Hillary Clinton, came to power, and within 12 months, they brought the country to its knees economically and in every way. And so the people in every one of the 23 provinces, millions were taken to the streets. In fact, the BBC estimated there were 23 million people in the streets at that revolution back in 2013, June 30th, 2013. And so President Sisi was the Minister of Defense, and he saw his obligation to protect the country and the citizenries, and he did. He paid, of course, a heavy price because the U.S. administration at the time, Obama and Clinton, were accusing him of conducting a coup. Well, there was no army involved. He just came in and said to the president, the Muslim Brotherhood president, acquiesce to the request of the people. And he said no. Because he thought, Obama is his buddy and Obama's going to protect him. And the ignorance on the part of the administration at that time, they didn't understand that the Muslim Brotherhood is not they called it a legitimate power. It's not. We're talking about the Islamists worldwide. They're less than 20% of all Muslims. All the statistics show they're less than 20%.
Okay.
And so when people come and they kind of paint all the Muslims with by the same brush, I said, no, be truthful, because I have many, many great Muslim friends. I have love for the Muslim people.
Yes.
In fact, that's something your dad and I talked about in our first meeting. And we talked about subsequently in California. We have love for the Muslim guy, and we want to give them the best that we have, which is Jesus.
Absolutely.
And the redeeming blood of Christ.
And Jesus is stepping in and doing it on his own, appearing to Muslim people, and the people are seeing visions and dreams and feeling the love of Christ.
That started in 1982. I happened to have been in Cairo at the time, where a group of Christian leaders started praying and fasting. And they were saying to the Lord, by law, we cannot preach the gospel outside of the church walls. We need you to intervene and help, because people are coming to the church and they're coming to Christ, but secretly. And so will you reveal yourself to them in visions and dreams? And that started in 82, and it took off. And now from Indonesia to Algiers and Morocco, the story is repeated tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of times, if not millions of times. Whether it be in Iran, the Middle East, North Africa, people see vision of Jesus. And then they will watch television, and they said, they're talking about the one that I saw in my dream. And consequently, some of our follow-up team goes around and basically disciple them and baptize them and minister to them, depending on what country and where the freedom is, of no freedom at all. So we're very sensitive about the political situation. But nonetheless, because of our love for Muslim people, we want them to know the joy of salvation. We don't want to keep it a secret. And TBN has been doing this for 50 years.
54.
54 already.
Okay, the difference between a Muslim and an Islamist.
Yeah.
So help us know the nuance, and it's really not a nuance. It's a very bright line, actually.
Yes, it is.
Tell us about that.
Well, in my book, An Unholy Alliance, and the Unholy Alliance is between the socialist Marxist woke and the Islamists, and they're kind of using each other, and the only thing they have in common is their hatred for Western civilization.
Wow. That is the Unholy Alliance.
The Unholy Alliance
That's
between
the
those two groups.
progressives?
Yes.
Progressives, yeah.
Well, one person was standing there, and I have the video. Queers for Palestine. And some Palestinian people came out and beat him up. They said, we don't want your kind here.
Yeah.
And so this is what's going on. It's in England, Australia, it's in Europe, and it's now coming here to your doorstep in Texas.
Yeah.
And so I remember one time a very prominent Muslim leader asking me the question. He leaned over and he said quietly, Dr. Youssef, can you tell me how come the Muslim Brotherhood, those are the Islamists, political Islam, has all kinds of names, that we outlaw them in Egypt and in Jordan and in the United Arab Emirates and in even Saudi Arabia. But they go to England and they not only give them a welcome mat, they give them a satellite channels from which they attack us and attack our policies.
Wow.
Which is for the good of the people. And these leaders, whether it be the King of Jordan or President Sisi, they're really doing, they're trying to lift up their people from poverty into a really modern societies. But the Islamists want to take them back to the 7th century.
Yeah.
And so in the book I have a chapter called The Mecca Muslims and the Medina Muslims.
Explain that.
Because when Muhammad started his work in Mecca, he had a lot of opposition. But then the whole population was really a mixture of polytheism, the worship of many gods, some Christian cults like the Ebionites and the Nestorians. They had messed up view of Jesus. And these were heretics that were pushed out of places like Egypt and other countries and ended up in Arabia. And some Jewish cults as well. So it was a really hodgepodge. And what Muhammad was saying, no, there's one true God. Don't worship these idols. And that's how he started. And he said, I am only telling you what Moses and Jesus have taught. And that became, his initial mission. And then, because of their persecution of his own tribe of Quraysh, he immigrated to a town called Yathrib, which now called Medina. Changed the name. He built an army, became strong in Medina, and he came back and attacked them and took over the Kaaba, which is the holy site. And so in those early days, he had different views from what came later. All the killing, the jihad, and all of the stuff came later. But so many Muslims and scholars and people I know, they say, we are believing the original mission of Muhammad, and not the later one that he was influenced by other people. But what you hear in the news, of course, every day, literally, from all over the world, the 20% who they make the noise and they make the news, and you see the militants against infidels, kill the infidels, do this and do that, and they dominate the scene. But the 80% of, just Muslims who want to live and let live, they get caught and they get tied with the same brush.
So I've heard it described as kind of the tyranny of the fringe, that there are, in the middle of the road are Muslims, and on the fringe, on the side there, the two extremes are Islamists that believe that there is a worldview, an eschatology, that they will take over the world, and bad news is good news for them.
Exactly.
Meaning when things blow up and all of the drama and governments are unstabilized and populations are unstabilized, that's all good because it's working towards a Islamic Antichrist type character that is coming.
Caliphate.
A caliphate is coming. They will one day rule the world. So extremism is in their blood, in their DNA, and that is not representative of the 80% of just regular Muslims that are usually peaceful.
How is this getting into our universities and this red-green alliance getting into all the universities and the politics? And how's that happening?
Well, they've been getting a lot of grants from... In fact, I document in the book $6 billion have been spread in universities from Qatar in the U.S. alone, let alone Europe and elsewhere. And basically, when you get that kind of money, you're not gonna say that you're gonna keep your mouth shut. And that's how they do it. But the difference, even within Islam, you got the Sunnis and the Shiites, who fought a war within 40 years of Muhammad's life, as to who the rightful successor of Muhammad. The Shia, the word means party, really. That's what it means. The party of Ali, that's his cousin. They said, he's the rightful successor. The other said, no, his friends and his disciples, Abu Bakr and Omar and so on, they're the successors. And they had a war over it. And so they split. They moved up north, and that's where the Iraq and Iran are Shiites. And then they kept the succession going through lineage, children. So for the 12th generation, from Ali, Hussein, and so forth, is that Imam, or the successor, who disappeared in infancy.
Okay.
And they said, well, now he is actually alive. He's just hiding. And that's what we call the 12th Imam Mahdi, or the guided one, their Messiah, that he is waiting until things really so bad, when the chaos is ensue everywhere, and then he's going to show up.
So they're trying to cause the chaos to reveal the 12th Imam.
Exactly. So he can show up.
Oh my God.
And the amazing part, to me anyway, Yeah, when you look at the description of the Antichrist and their description of the Mahdi, they really kind of have a similarity.
They kind of mirror each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, if the Antichrist ever shows up, I wonder whether he'll be the same one that they're waiting for to come and give them victory over the infidels and even over their Sunni brothers with whom they disagree.
Wow.
So, one of the other kind of, not like we need any more complications to the Middle East, but one of the complications is that there's also a struggle over who's really in charge if they pull this off, which of course we know because we know the Bible.
Yeah.
They're not going to pull it off, but in their mind, they're still fighting over who's going to be in control if they did pull it off.
Absolutely.
So the Sunni and the Shias are fighting and will probably continue to fight.
Yep.
Because they're expecting the 12th Imam to show up,
Yep.
and who's going to say quitting time when that happens?
And the Sunnis want to have their own guy. And for a little while, the president of Turkey kind of was giving him every indication that he's the guy. And then you got, of course, the royal family in Saudi Arabia said, we are the rightful descendants of Muhammad, and why would they looking for a caliphate when we have, we have the king? And so this is not going to end well in any account. It's not going to end well.
Didn't, when we were young, and because we're not young anymore, but
We're not.
just to let you know.
Very after me.
But when we were, it feels like when we were younger, and my dad understood Middle East politics
He did.
just because he grew up there, and I didn't. So I was only overhearing. But wasn't Iran and Iraq fighting for years?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, it was just, and millions were killed.
At least 1 million, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it feels like that was the latest open warfare, if you're not counting today,
Right.
where Iran is firing missiles, at UAE and who knows where that's going to end, where the Straits of Hormuz is going to end, and we will see. We shall see.
Yeah.
But I think that our audience is going to be super interested for you to take the next little bit and explain this Unholy Alliance.
Right.
Okay. The book is out and available, and you gave an example of how progressivism and Islamists are finding some common ground.
Yes.
But you and I both know if they would sit down and think about that for a second, they're oil and water.
Absolutely.
Okay? The homosexual that holds the sign for Palestine, if he went there, he'd be killed.
Killed. Absolutely.
Probably openly.
Yeah.
Openly killed.
Hamas killed one of the leaders just on the suspicion that he's a homosexual.
Okay.
And tortured him and killed him. But you see, there is a live example from history about this unholy alliance.
Okay.
We're seeing it now here in Europe and the United States. But in 1978, the leftists in Iran and the Islamists fomented a revolution against the Shah. Who were the leaders of the revolution? Highly educated leftist people. And they the ones who toppled the Shah. And they were on television night after night after night. I remember their names even. Abul Hassan Banisadr was the prime minister, and all of that, they were on television. They were the leaders of the revolution against the Shah.
Okay.
They wanted freedom, they wanted democracy. And they thought if they have an alliance with the Islamists and bring Khomeini from Paris, where he was living in luxury, as soon as the plane landed from Paris, he became the leader. And of course, the Shiite Muslims all came in the streets and hailed him as their Messiah. Within less than 12 months,
did they ever screw up?
when Khomeini came to power and all the clerics in the country completely changed, ruled by the clerics, he chopped the heads of every one of those leftists. He killed every one of them, imprisoned them and killed them, and some of them escaped. And so that unholy alliance is
never going to work.
Not going to work.
Okay.
It's going to be a day. I don't want to be around to see it, but it's going to be. I mean, think about this. When these, guys and transgenders and going in and supporting Palestine and so forth, I mean, you think that the homosexuals in Iran are taking to high-rise building and thrown out of that building. That's what they do to them.
And
we understand that we, as Christians, love everybody.
Yeah.
We love everyone. And we don't hate, we don't go out killing. We kill them with our love, literally. And so when you see this happening, you have to say, how long is this going to last?
It feels like the ones that are in the news today have never heard what you just said. There's the most important story I've heard. You've just educated me that I wouldn't have realized that Khomeini came and then just wiped out the leftists that largely got him able to get in power.
Yep.
And they didn't see that coming?
They thought they can really work together to get rid of the Shah, and therefore they will have shared
harmony. Power. They thought they would have harmony.
Absolutely, and they will share power.
Oh, boy.
But it doesn't work. I can give you another example.
Please.
It works the other way.
Okay.
In 1920, the founder of the the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, a man by the name of Hassan al-Banna, he was a primary school teacher. He founded the Muslim Brotherhood. And in the early days of the revolution of Mr. Nasser, the military coup that was conducted in 1952 against King Farouk and against the British, who were dominating at the time, the Muslim Brotherhood said, let's work with the army. And they mostly were secular. Some of them were religious, but they were mostly secular Muslims. And so when the revolution came and they really become the strong power between the first 2 years, between 52, 53, 54, and then Nasser eliminated the Muslim Brotherhood.
Like eliminated being killed, or just kicked them out?
Prison and killed. Okay. Many of them went to prison for a long time. Until Sadat came, he let them out. They were in prison for 15 years. Because they attempted assassination of him, and they were just those two groups who are now in the West to sort of have this green eye and a monster and thinking that they can get along, and they will really hate Western civilization. They hate liberty, and they hate all the freedom we have. They hate all these things that are really the fruit. All what we have in Western civilization, and I have documented it when I was doing my PhD at Emory, is the fruit of the Reformation. When Europe came out of the Dark Ages because of the Reformation, everything that the fruit that we have now, individual liberty, freedom, the value of the human life, all of these things came as a result of the Protestant Reformation.
Got it.
And then, of course, there was a counter-Reformation in the Catholic Church afterward. And so all of that has its deep root in the gospel, in the Bible. And that's what they want to eliminate. And they don't understand or choose not to understand.
The fringe people of progressives and Islamists don't know history.
They don't.
Because they think they can temporarily come together, some, with their combined joint hatred of Christianity, freedom,
absolutely,
liberty, and in their mind that we are oppressing everybody else outside. And they think that they can stay together. And you've just cited two examples in history in the 20th century where it ended bad for
two different countries,
two different sides of that same coin. Okay, so they're just dreaming.
They are, and you see the Marxism, in its pure form, built on creating a division. Karl Marx and Engels, they said, if we create a division between the proletariat and the ruling class and the working class, I just and I'm escaping for a minute, and they create that division, they create chaos.
Yeah.
And from that chaos will build their communist utopia.
Got it.
And we know how that
Yeah.
ended. But when they came to the West, particularly in the States, well, they knew they can't create a class warfare. So they started a racial warfare. And they'll create division between the races. The whites are the oppressors, the blacks are the oppressed. Now, thank God, so many of black American leaders thinking they did not fall for that. They realized right away that this is an artificial division to destroy society so they can supposedly build a Marxist.
Because the end game in regard to Islamists is a destroyed world that they would ultimately be ruling.
Yep.
Okay? So anytime they can create division,
Right.
they couldn't create class warfare in the United States, so they had to do racial warfare.
Yeah.
But they did class warfare in Europe
Yep.
and Russia and
Yeah, of course.
different places like that. And they work together with this combined joint hatred for everything that the Bible holds dear.
Yeah.
And then when they largely get power, then they one of those sides kill each other.
Exactly.
It's just talk about chaos. Talk about
Yeah, both want to create a chaos thinking that they'll build theirs
Yeah.
form of utopia.
Yeah.
But they're two different opposite forms of utopia that they envision. But they said, for now, let's just close our eyes and our differences until we create that chaos. But unfortunately, so many good people get caught in that horrible fight.
yeah.
Yeah. So basically, your book is giving clarity, like you guys were saying, the homosexuals
Yeah.
with the signs and
Yeah.
stuff. And I think, oh, you've never been to that country before.
That's
Or
right.
you don't know what you're
That's
You
right.
don't have any idea what you're talking
Or
about.
you don't have any idea what you're doing.
No,
You're-
because
you're-
we've been to them, know, and
Yeah.
you toe the line there, and so all this misinformation and the deception that
Absolutely.
the enemy has tried to put on these
Yes.
people is just crazy.
Well, in Islam, there is, particularly in the strict, it started as a Shiite thing, but now it's sort of, it's called taqiyya. And it's a frame of thought that says that it is not only good, it is virtuous to lie to the infidels.
Right.
Especially when you don't have the upper hand. When you have the upper hand, then you can forget whatever.
Speak plainly.
Yeah. And so, therefore, when you think it's a virtue to deceive you, where would you go from that? When the truth is muddied, what else left? And so that is what you see. And I just see, for example, the Prime Minister of Britain saying, the Muslims are persecuted. Muslims are not persecuted in England. They have all the freedom in the world.
Yeah.
And if they get some of the patriots demonstrate in the streets, they say, these far right-wing people, they just want to, they're Islamophobes. And of course, they saw the term worked for the homosexual community, homophobe. So they said, we'll take that and use it.
That's where you're showing this unholy alliance, that they are jacking certain progressive things, using it for their benefit, and if they ever get in power, bye-bye, progressive.
That's right.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 4 times, come on.
And I often say, when it comes to the strict Islamists, these progressives will be the first ones to go. Because even in the strictest Sharia, which people say Sharia law, but Sharia means law. In the strictest of Sharia, you have to kill the non-believers first, because whom they call the people of the book are the Christians and the Jews. if the people of the book would pay the jizya, which is a form of taxation or penalty, just for being allowed to live as a Christian or a Jew in what we call Islamic dominant society. So my ancestors,
the Coptic Christians,
the only reason my ancestors survived these, last 1,400 years is because they were able to pay the
tribute. So they were paying tribute to the Muslims,
the Muslim leaders, and they survived all these years because they were basically able to pay, and that's what they impose on Christians and Jews.
Why haven't the progressive picked up that cause? That there was, for centuries, people having to pay tribute to another people group just so they wouldn't kill them.
That's right.
And those are the Coptic Christians. There's millions of Coptic
15 million right now
in Egypt.
Survived all these years.
And what about the entire world? How many Coptic Christians?
I think there are about 3 million scattered around.
There's a Coptic church here in Colleyville, Texas.
Right.
It's just right down the road.
They're everywhere. In Georgia. In Canada, of course, there's so many Coptic churches, and throughout the United States, we have 1 million Copts in America.
Wow.
If we went to a service, would it feel like kind of a Catholic service?
It's very much similar to Catholic doctrine, with few differences and nuances. But I was at a wedding in Montreal not 2 years ago, and the mass or the wedding actually was in 3 languages because the Coptic Church is afraid losing the younger generations.
Oh.
So they will have the Coptic language, which is really Greek. It's a Greek language.
I didn't know
that. The Greek church and the Egyptian church were one church for the first 500 years.
Okay.
And so the Coptic Mass, once I learned Greek in seminary, I could understand what they're saying. So they have it in the Coptic language, then Arabic, then English.
My goodness.
It was the longest wedding I've ever attended. But they have to do that in order not to lose the younger generation to other churches. But this was happening in Australia and England.
Coptic Christians are the work of the Apostle Mark?
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, before that, Mark came and he discovered there was a church already. But you know how church started in Egypt?
I don't know.
If you read in the book of Acts, and I know you know this, and it mentioned all the nationalities of the Jews who were there on the day of Pentecost.
Okay.
And it says Jews from Alexandria.
Oh, okay.
These Jewish people, on the day of Pentecost, when they came to believe in Jesus, the Messiah, Lord, they went straight to Alexandria and began to preach the gospel.
Wow.
And the church began to flourish small. But then when Paul and Barnabas had this disagreement over John Mark, because Paul said, no, he chickened out. I'm not taking the next mission journey. Barnabas, he said, give him another chance. And anyway, they ended up splitting. And